Hello parents, welcome to this week's Holy Rosary highlights. Before I get into the video and the virtue talk, I want to tell you about some exciting news and a request for help from our diocese and from our principal. The school choice bill passed the Senate on Wednesday and it's now on the governor's desk. And so we're all being asked to call the governor to ask him to support this bill. And that number is 208-334-2100. And it's a bill that's going to benefit our school and all of our families in a very positive way. So please take the time to do that, and you can read a little bit more information about that in the email. You see in the pictures several photos still from Valentine's Day from a couple of weeks ago. Pictures of a school field trip to see the play Newsies. There are a few students that are in the play this weekend, so the whole school went to see what it was all about. Also some pictures from indoor recess, from snowshoeing on Monday, and from Father Ulenka teaching the kindergartners how to pray and how to sing the Salve Regina. They had a great time doing that. The virtue of the week was prayerfulness. Stay tuned for the virtue talk. And the virtue of the week next week will be respect, one more daughter virtue of the cardinal virtue of justice. Please be sure to go over the daily paragraphs and prayers with your children at home. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend, and God bless. What is the virtue of the week today, you guys? Yes. Good, Lucas. Prayerfulness, yes. And prayerfulness is a daughter of what virtue? Inga? Justice. Good. Now, in the content for the virtue talk, the videos are really good as always. And the sisters, they talked about this. They said, did you know that Mass is the most important event in the whole world? Yeah, right, Lucas? Yes. The most important event in the whole world. Because the most important event in the whole world, in the history of the world, was Jesus offering himself in sacrifice to the Father for our salvation. So Jesus did this in history 2,000 years ago, but now in the Mass, we get to enter into that again and again and again and again, and go deeper and deeper and deeper into it. So the Mass is the most important event in the whole world. And it's also the most powerful prayer. Like we talked about last week or a couple of weeks ago, we discovered that Mass is a prayer. It's also other things, like a time to listen, a time to receive instruction, a time to be with friends and to be in community. It's all of those things, but above all, it's a prayer. And the virtue of justice, as we've been hearing, as we've been learning, it enables us to give to God and to give to others what is due to them. To God, because He created us and He's given us everything, and to others because we're all made in the image and likeness of God. So this is going to be important, and we can connect this with the gospel that we just heard. Remember in the gospel, so Jesus put a little bit of spittle on his hand, a little bit of spit on his hand, and then He put it on the man's eyes, and that helped him to see because he was completely blind. But what did he see at first? Let's say someone else. Yes, Lila. Say that again. People as trees. Yes, that's kind of strange, huh? You saw people walking, but they looked like trees. In other words, their eyes weren't quite correct yet. They weren't quite focused yet. They could just see these objects moving around. And then Jesus does it again, puts His hand on their eyes again, and then what does He see? Yes, Kian. Yeah, he sees clearly, right? And he sees people walking. He sees very distinctly. His eyes was restored at that point. And this is what prayer will do for us. Because we are restored in the sacrament. So when we're baptized, when we receive confirmation, when we receive communion, especially on a regular basis, when we go to confession on a regular basis, it's like the first movement of going from being blind to seeing people walking as trees. But that's not enough. Mother Teresa would say this, that we want to be restored, have our eyes, to become a saint, she would say, is to have our eyes restored, our eyesight restored, to be able to see clearly, not as we do, but to be able to see as God does. And when we see as God does, we see clearly. We see people not as for their exterior, but for their interior. And their interior is being made in the image and likeness of God. So this means we owe them something, everyone, maybe even especially our enemies, those that hurt us. You can tell God, so that she continues. Here's the definition that they give us. Prayerfulness is being still, it's listening, and being willing to talk to God as a friend. That's what it is. It's not doing lots of things, it's not doing lots of devotions, although that has its place. But the virtue of prayerfulness is being still, is listening, and being willing to talk to God as a friend. Because prayerfulness is a virtue that changes us. So to enter into prayer is meant to, first of all, to change us. It's not first of all to change other people, although we can ask for that, right? God, heal my friend. God, help my cousin to convert. We can pray for those things, certainly. But if we're really praying, if we're really opening ourselves before the Lord, it's going to first of all change us. So we want to be still, to listen, and to be willing to talk to God as a friend. We can talk to God about all sorts of things. You can tell God about your day, about what excites you, what upsets you, what makes you worried. You can ask him for help, just like you would ask your mom or your dad for help. And we can only be his friend and continue our relationship with him through prayer. And we can only grow in virtue through prayer. So I said last week, or maybe a couple of weeks ago, that obedience is maybe the most important virtue. And I'll double down on that. I think it is, because of what Jesus modeled for us. He was obedient to the Father all the way to the end. And even Mary was obedient. Jesus was obedient to Mary and Joseph in his upbringing. And that's what made him, not what made him, but that's what he modeled for us, that obedience. He went home to Nazareth and grew, that's what I wanted to say. He grew in wisdom and stature by being obedient to his parents. So, okay, but obedience without prayer would not be good. Prayer is really what fuels our relationship with God. And we grow in virtue through prayer, including the virtue of obedience. We grow in obedience and in all the other virtues through prayer. So in another sense, prayer is the most important virtue. We want to practice all the virtues. And here's the prayer that they give us. Dear Jesus, I desire to have you as my best friend. Give me a desire to spend time with you each day as I do with my friends. Help me always to put you first in my life, even when I am busy. So here's what prayerfulness looks like, and then I'm going to ask you for some examples of how you're going to practice prayerfulness today. Listening closely to the words the priest says at Mass, especially at the altar, especially when the priest shows us the Eucharist. Folding my hands when I pray. That's why we have prayer hands, especially the altar servers, but everyone, we have prayer hands when we're standing, when we're kneeling. You look at any image of saints, they're going to have their prayer, like you look at Our Lady of Guadalupe over there, she's going to have her hands in prayer, because we pray with our bodies too. Our bodies help us to focus. To focus on Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament when we come to adoration, to be looking up here during Mass, not to be looking around, not to be looking down. To kneel in the pew when we're praying, to have good posture. See, I sometimes have terrible posture. I tend to slouch down. To have good posture, to stand erect, to kneel erect, to sit erect with our back straight. That will help us to focus. To close your songbook quietly, right? So sometimes you have your book open, and that's great if you're following along with the song, but we don't want to just slam it when we're done. We want to close it quietly. Also, with the pews, if we're going to put them up or put them down, we don't slam them down or up. We move them quietly. And it sounds like this. It sounds like silence. What does silence sound like? I don't know. But it sounds like silence. Prayerfulness sounds like silence. On Monday, on President's Day, some of us went snowshoeing. Did you guys have fun that went snowshoeing? We went out to Kelly Canyon, and it was beautiful out there, lots of snow, and we were hiking around, and we prayed a rosary during our hike. But what did we do during that rosary? Yes, you weren't there. How would you know? What did we do during our rosary, Gio? But what did we do as far as prayerfulness? Where's Emilio? Kale. We were silent, right? How much time of silence did we take? Emilio? 10 minutes. So between the fourth and the fifth mysteries, we took 10 minutes of silence. And we were just hiking in the woods, and everything was quiet and still around us, and everything was white. We couldn't hear any cars. We couldn't see anyone. We were just in silence. And we can say, I'm listening to you, Jesus. I'm listening to you. Okay, so what are a couple of examples? How are you going to practice prayerfulness today? Yes. Nadia. Pray. Okay, good. Yes, Amaya. Be looking at the altar during Mass. Excellent, Amaya. Yes. Dakota. Listening to the priest, very good. And listening to the deacon too, and listening to the readers when they come up here and they read the readings. Good, listening to the words from music. Very good, Dakota. Yes, Lucas? Be silent. Good. Yes, Holly? Look at the cross. Excellent. Yes, Inga? Yes, be silent and pray to Jesus for all the things that scare you. And what was the first thing? Worry. Yeah, all the things that worry you and scare you. You can tell Jesus those things. Jesus, I'm worried about this. I'm scared about this. Good. Give me a couple over here from this side. And since we're talking about lots of things at Mass, what are you going to do with the books and the pews and with your bodies? Go ahead, Celia. Yeah, okay, Lila. Be silent. Cecilia? No? Yes, Henry. Take 10 minutes of your time to pray? Okay, yes. And also to move things silently, right? The pews, the books, because that can be distracting when we shift those around. And also, with lots of things at Mass, and that's good, and you can pray at home. Of course, you can pray at school, you can pray in the playground. Always be listening to Jesus. Good, you guys. I think that's enough. And so I'll just close by saying 3 times here this short prayer that they gave us. I love you, Jesus, and thank you for giving yourself to me. And of course, he does that at every moment of every day, but he's going to do that in a special way here in the Eucharist too. I love you, Jesus, and thank you for giving yourself to me. I love you, Jesus, and thank you for giving yourself to me.